All right, everybody, thanks for coming. We're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes or less, since we are recording. Okay, I think we can probably go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for attending another Georgia Solar webinar, part of an ongoing series of webinars we have throughout 2021. This one is called Scrap the Solar Cap, having everything to do with net energy metering in Georgia, and more specifically, monthly netting in Georgia. And we're going to get into some more details about what all that means and all that in just a second. But before we do, we want to, of course, thank all of our gold level sponsors. These guys do a lot to keep Georgia Solar humming, and we can't thank these organizations enough for their contributions. And it's really important that folks understand that Georgia Solar is a 501c3 charitable nonprofit. So we are funded primarily by donations from our members. And so your donations are very, very important to us to keep things going and keep promoting solar in Georgia. I'd like to also recognize our silver level sponsors, which we have many. Too many to name here, but hopefully some of these names are familiar to you, and you can also find out more information about them at georgiasolar.org. So be sure to check out our website and check out our sponsors and let them know how much you appreciate their support. Very quickly, and I'm going to turn this over to Thatcher Young here in just a second to talk more about it. But the Scrap the Solar Cap webinar specifically pertains to the monthly netting pilot program that was put in place by the Public Service Commission during the 2019 rate case. And with a vote of 4-1, this pilot program was put in place with caps. There was a cap of the first 5,000 Georgia Power customers to go solar, or the first 32 megawatts of, or I'm sorry, additional 32 megawatts of solar capacity. We are at those caps now. And if you look at the capacity on the right-hand side, you can see how much we have online and pending completion, but the applications currently in progress are many, and that is where we're going to meet our caps. If we don't, we're going to meet our caps very quickly with the 5,000 customers, Georgia Power customers. I want to just note that the monthly netting, and hence the Scrap the Solar Cap, only applies to the PSC promulgated pilot program. And because the PSC regulates Georgia Power as a investor-owned utility, then this monthly netting, and it applies really just to Georgia Power. You're going to hear from another utility during this webinar that has a little bit of a different setup and how they treat net energy metering. And with that, I'll hand it over to Thatcher, who is our moderator. Thatcher is with Velo Solar, and a lot of you probably know him, but he is one of our policy gurus, and a man who needs no further introduction. So Thatcher, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate that. So yeah, guys, welcome this afternoon. I'm excited to be talking about monthly netting, and we've got a very distinguished panel of guests, which I'll introduce just briefly. And then we're going to go through a few slides from Jeff Mason with Cobb EMC. So if you're concerned about the net metering cap in Georgia Power's territory, the best thing you could do is move your home or business to Cobb County because they're uncapped. So that would be solution number one, but we are working on other solutions, and we'll talk about that in a little while. So our first guest is Roji Aldashi. Roji is the founder and CEO of Better Tomorrow Solar, which is a local solar EPC here in Atlanta. Roji has over 25 years of marketing experience before she decided to found Better Tomorrow. She's also a mother of 2 teenagers, so the difficulties of managing solar in a pandemic is far less than managing 2 teenagers in a pandemic. I can speak from experience there. And she's motivated by creating a better tomorrow for those children and for all of us, and believes that solar power is key to that. So Roji, excited to hear from you in a little bit. And our next panelist is Jeff Mason from Cobb EMC. So Jeff is the field services representative for Cobb. He's been on Cobb's team for over 20 years, started when he was 6, and has a lot of support for commercial and residential customers across the business. So does energy audits for customers, and then also manages those interconnection applications and witness tests that are required to safely install a solar array in Cobb's territory. So we're excited to hear from Jeff as we move forward. And then our third speaker is Russell Seifert. Many of y'all know Russell. Russell's a former director of Georgia Solar, but he's also the founder and CEO of Creative Solar USA. And their mission is to bring creative solutions to customers' solar and clean energy issues. And he's been doing that for 13 years plus now. So definitely a veteran of the solar wars. Is also really running a regional business. So does a lot of work in the Carolinas. And so hopefully Russell will kind of give us some regional perspective on how net metering differs in the Carolinas than here in Georgia. And when he's not installing solar systems around the Southeast, he's climbing mountains like the one in his background, or generating his own kilowatt hours on his mountain and road bikes. So excited to have Russell with us. And last but not least, we have Scott Starowitz. Scott is the CFO of the SAE School in Mableton. And Scott's responsibilities are pretty broad in administration over there, but most important in accounting and human administration, human resources, which I'm sure has been daunting in a pandemic. So we thank Scott for all of his service to the students of the SAE School. And SAE did a really innovative SEPA model last year, where they brought some foundation support to help reduce the installation cost of solar, and then are also getting advantage of monthly netting, and have seen some dramatic change in the operating cost for the school as a result. And so Scott's going to share some of that experience with us. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Jeff Mason with Cobb EMC, and Jeff's going to share a little bit about Cobb's unique approach to monthly netting, and then we'll have some panel discussion and then open it up to questions from the floor. So over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Thatcher. Hey, everybody, I'm Jeff Mason with Cobb EMC, as was stated. And yeah, they recently changed our titles. We're actually energy advisors now. But on this first, oh, and by the way, I wanted to thank Georgia Solar. Thank you for having me on today. Hope we can answer some folks' questions. But to get started on the first slide, I just want to talk a little bit about our solar education strategy. We've definitely recognized, as I'm sure a lot of you have, that there's a lot of interest. It seems to me, especially in the last 9 to 12 months, that a lot of interest has been spiked or peaked about solar. I contribute some of that. I think we've had it seems like a lot of folks have moved to the state of Georgia that have had solar in other states. So with that in mind, COBMC, we decided we need to start a dialogue or a conversation. And we kind of want to start with our members. Excuse me, my eyesight's failing, so I got to have some glasses on here. But our solar education strategy, we just felt as COBMC, we felt like it was our responsibility to be a trusted energy advisor to our members and just kind of educate them on the process and how it works. This will help them to avoid scam offers that are being circulated by a lot of other contractors. And again, I'll go back to what I said a moment ago, and I know that y'all are aware of this, but and I especially have noticed this again, the last 9 or 12 months, there's a lot of contractors that have come into Georgia from out of state. And we know some of them, unfortunately, I don't think they're following best business practices. So anyway, we'll move on to number 2. We also want to ensure our members can make a well-informed decision on rooftop solar and if it's right for them. They need to have a strong understanding of the facts, policies, and our rates to figure out their ROI. I try to be, I actually get calls from members and I, try to lay it out for them. If you get a good solar contractor, they need to ask you a series of questions. Do you have an HOA? How old is your roof? They're going to ask you some basic stuff. And the biggie to me, y'all may or may not agree, but the biggie to me is like, what are you trying to accomplish? What is your goal with your solar PV system that you want to get? So we try to answer those questions for the members. On to number 3, we always strive to be a trusted source of information for our members. We kind of want them to think about us. I think the reasoning behind that again is we have some contractors in our area now that maybe aren't doing things quite right. So, if they'll call us first, we're going to try to steer them in the right direction. But it avoids safety concerns too, if we can talk to them beforehand. Item 4, we take a proactive approach and try to educate and support our members to make the right decisions. So we as COBMC, we've tried to be solar friendly. We can move to the next slide, please. And I just wanted to touch on this too. And I think this came about again because of a lot of contractors that have come into our area. But on July the 21st, we actually had a solar contractors luncheon at the COBMC offices. And the goal was, we were wanting to try and again, create this dialogue between COBMC and the installers, because at COBMC, we always want to have a positive contact when we talk with our members and have a good outcome with it. So we're just wanting to, among other things, but wanting to stress, when the contractors, when y'all come into contact with our members as well, we want them to leave with a positive experience. So that was one of the big ideas behind that. We can go to the next slide, please. And our contractor meeting objectives, again, as I mentioned, continue to improve our relationships, educate on our lifestyle rate options. COBMC, there's I think about 5 different rates available to members now. So it's good. I think it's good for contractors to have kind of a general idea about those. Also kind of wanted to we did go over with our contractors our net metering policy so they can, craft an economic analysis when working a system out with our members or doing a bid for a member. Educate them on any incentives that COBMC may be offering to promote battery storage or electric vehicles. Make sure they have a thorough understanding of the DG policy and the interconnect agreement, and guide them through the online interconnection form. I'll get to that in just a moment. And then understand the solar contractors' perspectives and how we can be an even better community partner with them. We can move to next slide, please. And this is a slide we went over during the meeting. And again, I just wanted to, the contractors to have a good understanding of how our interconnection net metering policy works. So that was the idea. But on step 1, member starts with the interconnect agreement. To give you a little background on this as well, prior to this, we had a paper process. So, contractor or members having to fill out a paper form, send it to me. There's a $100 application fee that at the time was only able to be handled by check, paper check. And then the final piece of the puzzle, we have to have the final inspection by the county or the city, just depends on the location of the installation. But there's a lot of moving parts in that paper process, so we're trying to automate that. So what we did is we made an electronic process. It's on SharePoint. It's available. Go to the Cobb EMC website. You can find the interconnect agreement and start it. A lot of the contractors, they do what I like to call a turnkey process, which I greatly appreciate. But they'll sit down with the members, start filling out the interconnect form online. And if a member wants to start it themselves, we make sure that the member has the contractor's email so they can receive the contractor portion of the agreement. On step 2, the contractor completes their portion of the agreement. Be sure to include the member's application number to provide all technical specs and line diagrams. And in this process too, the form, you can upload your documents, one-line diagrams, technical specs, anything like that can be uploaded into the form, which is a nice thing to have. And then on step 3, Cobb EMC, we get it, it comes in, we approve the agreement, the contractor can go on and do the install. Step 4, the contractor requests an inspection by the city or county. Again, that's going to depend on the location of the installation. Then the contractor again, it's an upload. You can upload that final inspection to the interconnect agreement portal. And at that point, we'll kick off the net meter process. And what happens then is our meter shop gets a work order. They go out and set the net meter. And at the same time, when we do that, we bill the member the $100 application fee. That's the part of this that's nice because it eliminated the paper check issue. I mean, I was chasing paper checks all over the place. Sometimes people would just mail them straight to Cobb EMC. They go to another department, they sit for a week or two. So by doing this, it eliminates that. Now, and again, it was nice to be able to speak with the contractors about this because when we kick that off and it bills the member the $100 application fee, we want our contractors, however you want to handle it. Either when you do the bid, you can show, minus $100 off total price because this is what Cobb is going to bill you later when we put the net meter on, or, the contractor can cut them a rebate check for $100. However, the contractor wants to take care of that. One other, I'll add something to this at this point as well. On the commercial side, basically all the same process, but there's one more step in the commercial side, and we have a witness test. There is a witness test fee of $300. So I guess you could look at it as grand total on commercial. It's $400. That's going to be the $100 application fee, and then the $300 for the witness test. And the bigger thing there on the witness test is we're actually sending a crew out on that. So I think $300 is more than fair because I can guarantee you it costs us a lot more than $300 to send a crew out to a site for a witness test. But yeah, we can go to the next slide, please. And I thought there was one more. I'm sorry, maybe there.
Yeah, the next slide came up blank, Jeff. So that was the.
So there wasn't one below. I apologize, everybody. So there wasn't one below there. I thought I may have miscounted. I thought there were 4 there. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. It may have been. I may have miscounted. But with that said, I mean that's our interconnect process. Net metering process. Our net metering is very straightforward. I have members call me and say, well, tell me, how does this work? What is net metering? Tell me about it. And I'll just tell y'all my basic explanation. So, we come out and we put on a net meter, and think of a net meter. It's a bi-directional meter. It reads in both directions, right? So the explanation to me that I convey to our members, because I think it's kind of the simplest explanation, is say you've got a PV system installed at your home. And again, with us, with Cobb EMC, everything occurs in 30-day bill cycles. But in that 30-day bill cycle, your home consumes 300 kilowatt hours. Your solar PV system is producing 200 kilowatt hours. So at the end of that bill cycle, the end of that month, we're going to bill you for 100 kilowatt hours of usage. So that's, it's very simple, very straightforward process with our net metering. But with that said, I want to thank all of you for your time, and I hope that was helpful. And I'll turn it back to you, Thatcher.
Thanks, Jeff. That was great. So we're going to move into kind of the Q&A section of today's agenda. So I've got a couple of pre-prepared questions that I'll ask each of our panelists just to dig in on some nuanced issues in monthly netting, and then would encourage y'all to submit questions via the Q&A function. We've gotten several. We're trying to answer those in real time as they come in, but we'll pick some of those and put those to our panelists as well. So Jeff, just a question for you. How have your members responded to kind of this simplified interconnection procedure, the simplified net metering structure? And then can you talk about some of the other kind of green rates and incentives that you have? I know y'all have a special rate for EVs, and just kind of what response you're getting from COB EMC members around these offerings.
Yeah, Thatcher, I think overall, yeah, I mean, it's a very positive response. For a long time, a few years ago, we basically had one rate. That's all we had available. But I was very relieved when we came out with several rates. We have about 5 rates now. And from doing energy audits, that was a big help, giving the members an option. So yes, sure. They really appreciate that. We do have a night flex rate for EVs, which is, I think, is basically free 400 kilowatt hours at night when they charge their EV. We have an incentive program that we launched, and it is a pilot program. So the big thing that surprised us, because in the incentive program we had a battery incentive for putting a solar battery, a Tesla or a LG battery in a home. There was a EV charger incentive. We had a programmable thermostat incentive, and there may be a couple others. I apologize, I can't pull them up off the top of my head at the moment. But we were surprised by that whole thing, that the battery incentives, they went real quick. It was real fast. It was a $2,500 incentive. The money that was budgeted for that went quickly. I mean, people really bid on that one. So yeah, and again, it was a pilot program. I think we're in the stages now. We're going to evaluate that, and I'm sure we're going to roll that out again. But currently, now let me clarify that the battery incentive is done, but the EV charger incentive, I believe, is still going on. The thermostat incentive, I know for sure that they're still out there, still on the COB EMC website.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, sure.
Let's bring a couple of the other speakers in. Rosie, I've got a question for you. Kind of how has monthly netting impacted interest in rooftop solar in your market and the markets that you serve? And has interest from commercial businesses been different than residential businesses? Can you kind of speak to your experience there?
Sure. Of course, we mainly operate and work with residential properties. There's no question how this has affected our business. Based on there's so many variables involved, but based on the numbers we have looked at starting in January of 2020, we have noticed we have had 30% increase in residential sales with customers who are interested in adapting solar panel for their rooftop. So this will certainly change, consider with net metering going away, and it will affect our customer. Customers will be asking for smaller system because the return on investment is something they're going to look at. So this is going to be a game changer for our customers as well as us as a business owner. Other issue that I think it needs to be brought up is about jobs. Solar offers high-paying, non-exportable jobs. The average pay for our solar installer is about $20 an hour. If we lose a third of our business, that could adversely affect those jobs, as well as engineering, marketing, and other related jobs in the solar industry. So as a business owner, this will make a big difference and put a dent into our as well as our customers as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rosie. So Russell, let me bring you in. Can you kind of talk about what y'all are seeing as far as commercial customers' interest and how has monthly netting changed that? And then can you just speak to kind of how net metering is treated in our neighboring states in South Carolina and North Carolina versus Georgia?
Sure. The commercial end, we've had about a 25% uptick in interest. We have been working on a number of notable projects, one of them being like the ASHRAE Institute, and the net metering is what really brought their interest in about it. And because of that, and with everything they're doing at their facility, their goal was to be a net zero facility. We were fortunate enough to get them in just in time because the application process is quite lengthy with the utility. But many business owners, it's easier to show them pro forma if they have net metering versus the other rate programs of their ROI, and their eyes get real big. And, you know, a lot of them are very forward thinking. And so a lot of them have renewables as part of their portfolio for many various reasons, for as part of a collective with other organizations that they do business with, number one. And number two, they do it, some of them will do it for the tax credit incentives as well, because they're doing well. But it's been very beneficial for many, many business owners. And I can see that very much. As far as the neighboring states, it's a much bigger market, period. I mean, you know, Georgia is one of the largest states east of the Mississippi. And for solar, when Georgia even introduced a tax credit, which was one of the first states down in the Southeast to ever introduce it back in late 2008, you know, solar was just, you know, when you tell people you're into solar, they're like, what? You know, and now solar has become so mainstream. But what was so amazing is that neighboring states have taken the solar, and the government and the public service commissions in neighboring states have taken it and really embraced it and worked together with the utilities to where they have just blown past Georgia to where, I mean, giving an example, North Carolina has over 17,000 rooftop installations with metering program. Florida has almost 60,000, and Florida just incorporated this maybe about 4 years ago. So to give you an idea, it's the leadership in this state that we need to bring it to their attention that we are falling way behind on this program. And the people that are getting the brunt of this and people that are paying for this are the homeowners. It's not just the business owners. So we've just got to keep fighting the good fight. But I will tell you, you know, the utility companies in this state are very reliable. They're very resourceful, and they're doing the best they can to adopt it. But you've got some utility companies that are so large for them to have just one little change, that because they're so old and so big, it takes eons. And I think like we've seen with this pandemic, if something is brought to us that needs our immediate attention and it's really urgent, we can do it. If you saw how fast that vaccine was brought up, it just goes to prove that government, if we can do that with our government, we can do it with our state government, and we can get large organizations to act just as fast.
That's great. Thanks, Russell. I absolutely agree with all that. Scott, I want to bring you into the conversation. You know, schools' energy use is often what we call lumpy, right? So you have pretty high energy use during the week, and then on the weekends, you know, it dips down and it comes back up. You know, maybe it's a lot during the day and not a lot at night. And so I'm just curious, how has monthly netting kind of helped the SAE school with its operating cost? Has that helped to kind of flatten out that lumpiness a little bit? Just kind of curious your experience there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great that we're able to do that. You know, we partnered with Russell and Creative Solar and had them, you know, set up all that for us. And we have a 156 kilowatt system. And so you know, we've taken our utility bill from probably $35,000 a year to, you know, a couple $100 a month. I mean, it's saved us a ton of money. And you're right. I mean, we primarily operate Monday through Friday with the students here in our school. And so if it wasn't for the netting, you know, we just wouldn't see the same impact. And we're able to take the funds that are saved and reinvested into our school and just, you know, enhance our product. And, you know, being a nonprofit school, I mean, that's a lot of money for us. So it's made a huge impact in our school. And, you know, we're happy to be the first in Georgia to be 100% solar and show it off to our community.
Awesome. Congratulations on that, Scott. That's huge. Maybe we can do a field trip with members that want to come out and see the school and see the solar array.
Yeah, absolutely.
Later this year.
We have lots of incoming families that come in, and so it's great to be able to show them the monitor at the front of the school. It's something now that we've integrated into our curriculum, so it's had, you know, more than just a financial impact at our school. And so it's, you know, we love showing anyone and everyone who wants to see what we were able to do through the SEPA agreement. And it's a great thing.
That's awesome. So now I think we'll turn it over to some of the questions from the audience. If you have a specific question for one of our speakers, if you would just kind of indicate that in your question, then I'll direct it to that speaker individually. If it's just more of a general question, you know, we'll handle it that way. Sort of at the end of this, we're going to talk a little bit. Don's going to come back on and kind of share with everybody some actions that you can take individually to get involved on this issue and try to encourage our PSC commissioners and others to act correctly in this. But one of the things that I wanted to offer up to Don in Montana specifically right now is Josh asked the question of, you mentioned scammy and out-of-state contractors, kind of net metering chasers, if you will. What can be done to prevent our state from becoming overrun with undesirable players who don't have Georgia residents' best interest at heart? Have other states developed effective strategies like defining the marketing company activities as contracting and subject to licensing? So Don, Montana, can y'all talk a little bit about some of what we as an association are doing to help address kind of these nefarious actors?
Montana, I'm going to pass it over to you. And if there's anything else to add, I'll be happy to do it. But you've been leading much of the effort here. Thank you.
Sure. I'll share a little bit. It is an in-depth topic because it's something we've been monitoring for quite some time. And once this net metering became a thing in Georgia, a lot of out-of-state sales companies came here, and like the term used, net metering chasers, that's exactly what they are. And I mean, we found that some of the practices they're doing are highly questionable, you know, selling at double the retail price, and not necessarily doing anything illegal. Of course, if we find them doing something illegal, we've reported companies to, or we will report them to authorities, Attorney General's office. But a lot of what they're doing is within the guidelines of the law. So what Georgia Solar's done is try to act as a shield to educate consumers. We've produced a guide on our website to help people know what to look for when choosing a contractor. Anything you want to add to that, Don?
Well, I think you'll also find a video that Montana did. He's been a little humble, but really did a good job addressing this very issue and things to look out for. We are working also together with the National Solar Energy Industries Association, who has been great to offer resources and information that that they have used in other states. This is not a problem unique to Georgia. It's something that we're seeing in a lot of states, and you know, has taken a lot of us in the industry to do everything we can to try to self-regulate. And, you know, even with the program that COB-EMC had last week or so, you know, that kind of thing is just another example of how the industry is trying to quell this issue. Can I ask a question, Thatcher?
Sure, Don.
It is for Jeff Mason, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Jason, but I'm going to anyway. So COB-EMC does what I guess would be considered true net metering. You do not do monthly netting, right? Where you reconcile at the end of the month. I guess you reconcile at the end of the year, and there's a very small handful of other utilities in the state of Georgia that do it that way. Do you have a sense of why COB-EMC does net metering, and you know, what are the benefits to the customer and or to the utility, and you know, what kind of impact do you see that net metering has on the utility company?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. No, I think, first of all, with COB-EMC, everything with us occurs in 30-day bill cycles. So, I mean, there's not a reconciliation at the end of the year. If they, you know, if there's bill credit or anything, I mean, that's on the bill. When the bill cuts, all that stuff calculates. So we don't, and that's interesting because I don't know the specifics of how things work in other states, but I've had numerous installers from other states asking me, you know, what credit rolls over. So apparently in some other states, a lot of credits roll over, but with COB-EMC, no, I mean, we don't roll any credits over. So it's going to be on that bill. But that's exactly how we wanted to be. And I think we decided this early on. We wanted to be solar friendly and make it easy for the members. And I think we do. We have a pretty straightforward process. I don't think we have any. Well, I know we don't. We don't have a backlog. We don't have a big backlog of doing installations. And through a couple of meetings I've been to, I've discovered there's some other utilities that have a very large backlog of getting their, you know, their members or their customers situated with solar. So I guess I say all that to say, yeah, we've done our best and tried to be as solar friendly as possible to our members, and to work with the installers as well to help them, you know, have a smooth process and understand, you know, what we want and how we operate with net metering.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff. So just a kind of clarification for everybody on what's the difference between monthly netting and net metering or true net metering. The analogy that I use is, some of y'all will remember rollover minutes years ago that some of the cell phone companies offered, right? So back when you had to pay for the minute, not by the gig, you know, you paid a little differently, right? So if you had, you know, say 100 minutes and in January you only used 75 minutes, then you got to take that 25 extra minutes and put it into February and then into March. And so true net metering essentially works that way. So your solar system produces 100 kilowatt hours of electricity. You only use 75 in that month. So you don't have any additional that you used. You didn't pull any from your utility. It all came from your system. Then you would get, in the current monthly netting environment, you would receive a voided cost for that 25 extra, right? And then you would get full retail credit for the 75 that you used. And that's a monthly net. And then in February, the whole thing starts over again. In a true net metering environment, you would get to carry over that 25 minutes to be used in February or in March. And typically at the end of a calendar year, there's a rectification where the utility will look at all of the energy, the kilowatt hours that your solar system generated, all of the kilowatt hours that you consumed in your home or your business. And then the net at the end would be calculated, and you would get full retail value for all of the energy that you consumed on your premise, and you would receive avoided cost or some other negotiated rate for whatever you export back to the grid beyond what you use. And so that's kind of the distinction, the difference between monthly netting and net metering. So a question just to the full panel, and I'll let y'all decide kind of who wants to take this one on. This question came from Miles. The graph that we shared earlier of Georgia Power's program implied that a lot of the cap, right, is made up of pending applications. And so if a customer had an application submitted before they announced the program was full, is it possible to still qualify? So I don't know which panelists would like to try to address that question for Miles. All right, I'll take it. So Miles, the answer to your question is yes, it is still possible. So what Georgia Power is doing specifically is they have created a wait list. And so any new interconnection applications submitted basically after July 27th have gone onto that wait list and are being evaluated in order that they are received or in order in which that project is moving forward, right? So you need an approved interconnection application from Georgia Power in order to be assured that you would get monthly netting under the R&R tariff. And then from that point, you would have 60 days to complete your construction, complete your interconnection, have your system commissioned, witness test, and then you would start receiving that credit. So it is still possible, but obviously, that 1,200 applications exceeds the 1,000 spots left available. So, time is of the essence. If you're thinking about installing a solar system in Georgia Power's territory specifically, we would encourage you to go ahead and do that. And John asked a sort of follow-up question to that, and that is that if you don't get monthly netting, but you do install a system, well, then what happens? And so what happens there is that you would get credit for the energy that you consume on your home or in your business at the time in which your solar system is operating, which Georgia Power defines as instantaneous netting. And then any energy that you export back to the grid, regardless of the time of day that you do so, then you would receive a voided energy cost for that, which in Georgia Power is about 3 cents a kilowatt hour. So you would essentially get a credit on your bill of 3 cents a kilowatt hour, and you would pay the difference based on your rate and tariff structure. And we would encourage you, if you are a Georgia Power customer, to reach out to Georgia Power's customer service department and talk to them, about these specific questions, because it can be a little different depending on your rate structure, and your tariff. And then Booker asked a question of, I already have a solar system installed, but I'm not currently receiving monthly netting. How do I get it? And so the answer to that question is simply, you need to reach out to Georgia Power's customer service team and request that you be moved on to R&R with monthly netting. And if you have a system installed before January 1st of 2020, then you will be grandfathered into monthly netting, and you would receive credit back to January 1st of 2020 on a subsequent bill. So just reach out to Georgia Power, and they should have record in their system of when your system was successfully interconnected. Let's look at kind of a couple other questions. This is a question from D. Benton, and I'll just put this out to maybe Russell and Seth from the installer community. So Dee's question is, my HOA covenants filed in 1996 say flatly no solar panels. And will Senate Bill 299 solve that problem? So do we have to hire an attorney and take on our HOA directly? So Russell, can you maybe answer Dee's question there?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if Bill 299 will directly address that one. It may indirectly, but many HOAs have been challenged with people wanting to have solar. And there is a good strategy in how to approach them. And that is to be, come forward to them, number one. And as long as you present them with an architectural rendition, and if they're very sensitive to street view and you show it's on the back of the house or on the east or west side of the house, and that the panels are dark and then they kind of mesh in with the roof, we've had pretty good success in that. But in addition to that, there are so many documents and white papers out there nationwide now. It used to be just California, but nationwide, where basically HOAs can't really ban solar from being put on the roofs, that if you wanted to really push the envelope, you could get that done.
That's great. Thank you, Russell.
Here, if it's okay, I'll just add too that
please do, Don.
Georgia Solar offers resources as well to homeowners who are facing opposition from their homeowners association. As it turns out, a lot of homeowner associations, their covenants and restrictions were written a long time ago before solar really became a thing. And so it's not that they oppose it. I mean, some probably do, but a lot of folks just don't know really how to handle it and want to keep it under control. So we have model covenant provisions that we can share with you. We can also participate in one of the homeowner association monthly meetings to present best practices. And it's just a way where, we'll try to do everything we can to help your homeowners association incorporate reasonable and responsible covenants to be able to allow the adoption of solar, but do so in a way that conforms with architectural controls. So for example, we don't want to have a ground mount solar array in the front yard of a neighborhood. But having solar on the front of the house facing the street, if it's a last resort and there's no other place to put solar, then we do encourage homeowners associations to allow that street facing rooftop solar array. However, just one more aspect of it, if part of our model covenants also say that if it's not street facing and the solar is in the back of the house, then there really should be no opposition from the homeowners association in that situation.
In addition, House Bill 843 does address that as well too.
That's right. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Russell. So I think we'll end with just a little bit of levity because it is still a heavy time for all of us. So I'm going to give credit to Ken on this one. He said, if my net metering application is not approved by Georgia Power, can I run an extension cord to Cobb EMC? So I think Jeff would tell you that's probably electrically unsafe.
Yeah, and that would take some really heavy gauge wire too.
Jeff and the team at Cobb would be more than happy to help you locate a premise for your business or connect you with some great real estate agents in Cobb County, and we'll get you up there, Ken. So thank you for that. Well, y'all, with that, I appreciate all the questions from the crowd. I hope that we were able to answer a lot of them. We will continue to answer questions directly in the chat, in the Q&A function. So if you have questions, please continue to submit them. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Don. And Don's going to share with us a little bit of how, we as individual solar businesses and solar homeowners can get involved in the Scrap the Cap campaign. So back to you, Don. Don, you're on mute.
Thatcher, that's why they call me Don, you're on mute, Moreland. It's so part of this webinar is a very, very serious call to action. A lot of us in the industry and customers I've talked to in the Georgia Power service area are very concerned about the caps and how that's going to affect them, how it's going to affect their ability to meet their sustainability goals, to generate their own electricity on their own property and save money. When we tell people that the law in Georgia has no caps, and not to get too wonky with this, but the law in Georgia allows for net metering. However, there is no 5,000 customer or 32 megawatt cap. That is a cap that was imposed by the Public Service Commission as part of this pilot program. So while Georgia Solar and its other solar advocacy partners are taking action to try to resolve the situation, it's going to take all of us to really encourage the commissioners to do away with these caps, to follow Georgia law, and to allow customers to put solar on their property if that's what they want to do. So while we create more resources available for our members and for the public to help encourage the PSC to scrap the cap, we do implore you to go ahead and contact your public service commissioners and encourage them. And right now we are not creating a form letter that you can just kind of click on and you know it'll populate your name and it'll sign it for you and send it along. We have been asked to actually not do that, and it's definitely more effective for you to send a personal message about your story and about how the caps affect you. So we encourage you to reach out to them directly. Go ahead and hit your print screen on here and grab this screen right here, or go to the Public Service Commission website, and there's a place in there where it says meet the commissioners, and you can contact them through there. But this is a grassroots movement where it's going to take all of us to get these caps increased or eliminated until the next rate case. And the concern there is not just customers being able to do what they are allowed to do by law, but with this start and stop again kind of a pilot program and these artificial caps, we're really concerned about what this is going to do with the industry. This could possibly freeze or put a chill in the industry where people are going to wait and see what happens until the next rate case, which could be 12 to 18 months from now. And that could cause a lot of jobs and a lot of economic development and cause some of our local companies to go out of business. So we encourage everyone here to do what they can to make your voice heard.
Don, can I just add just a couple of sentences to that? I appreciate it. One more thing I think which needs to be pointed out with the growing demand for electricity due to EVs and the growing awareness and dangers of the methane gas in homes, indoor quality, distributed generation of solar will be a very well cost-effective way for Georgia Power to meet that.
I know, Rogie, your screen froze, at least it did on my end. And I just want to say Rogie is on vacation with her family and took some time out of her vacation to join us today. So we couldn't appreciate that more. It looks like she might be back. Rogie, I'm not sure when we lost you, but please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. My internet connection is not exactly working. I don't know how much of what I mentioned, was related, but basically what I was trying to say, we have such a high demand, especially lately with EV cars, growing awareness and the danger of methane, indoor quality for homes, distributed generation of solar will be a very cost-effective way for Georgia Power to meet that increased demand. There are more than one well-documented study that shows distributed generation saves utility companies money. Georgia Power could save more in grid maintenance and upgrades than relatively the slight loss in revenue from an account on home or business with solar. So I think that's something we need to also get across, which is important.
Thank you for that, Roshi. That's a very good point. And solar does add benefits to the grid, and I think that's sometimes lost in these conversations. All right, Thatcher, I think that does it. I see a bunch of more comments in the chat box, but the last thing I'd like to say is, you guys, Georgia Solar is doing everything we can on this issue, and also leading into the next legislative session with SB 299. And we need your support there too. So after you finish contacting your public service commissioners, go on over to georgiasolar.org and help us out. Make any kind of donation you can. Become a member, become a gold or a bronze level member, and we will advocate for you and make sure that the market for solar in Georgia is strong.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a great day.